Have you found that you've had so many challenges with maintaining rituals, with being able to stay connected, and having less stress-based conversations? I know in our family, when we initially thought we weren't going to be able to get together for Christmas, and then the government decided we would be doing a much more severe lockdown the day after, we knew we needed, as a nuclear family and a slight extended family, my sister, her husband, my parents, we were going to have to make this Christmas count because goodness knows we didn't know the next time we would all be together. Similarly, my teens are stuck with my husband and I. Insert 40 something, my husband 50 something. Not exactly who my teenagers would probably prefer to spend their entire winter with. So we also had to get creative, thinking how could we make our dinner times, our weekends connective, rather than us just feel like we were at loggerheads and exhausted being around each other. And I gotta tell you, we live in beautiful wine country, which is not a bad place to be, but my husband, my kids obviously don't drink. And not only that, we have had the world's warmest winter. It's basically gray all the time. So we also wanted to find some things that we could do inside, given that there was nothing cool happening outside. So here's the list. Number one, I actually have this really great book. Tip is coming about what you could do in a second, but this little book of like, oh my gosh, talk about a great resource. Well, the same author of that book has this amazing game. And you probably have I posted this on Facebook, and lots of people were telling me about their version of a tabletop conversation game. So here's what we do at the dinner table. And by the way, you know how infectious this has become? The good kind of infectious. The good kind of infectious is that when we sat down for dinner last night, my husband had cleaned everything up and he had put it away in our games drawer. My kids were like, what happened to the game? So it has become clearly a ritual because over the last week, we have asked ourselves this so much. In fact, by the time you're watching this, we will have had over a month of trying this. So things like, what is the most overrated movie? What's your favorite charity, and what makes you blush? You just basically pick a question and you get a chance to find out about each other or hear about a memory. And although, my kids and my husband and I, we have a lot of shared memories, what sticks out for me and what sticks out for them may be different things. And I'm learning all kinds of things about what they most value and what they remember based on hearing how they answer those questions. So that's a really cool new ritual. The other thing that we do is we keep out some of you have these compliment cards, and we just put them out. We make them available. And so let's say we just put these out on our table. And at the beginning of the weekend, we put a whole bunch of these, and we'll say, like, if you see somebody in this family doing one of these things, be the first one to notice it. And then we usually kind of gamify it. So the first one to notice it gets a chance to pick what movie we're going to watch, or the person with the most number of cards that they've given out, they get a chance to pick where we're going to do some takeout. And we just, we kind of make it fun. So, and the compliments, the person receiving the compliment feels good because somebody has noticed a dimension of their greatness. So that's the second thing we do. The third thing was we started Pictionary, but not just Pictionary as in small drawings, but life-size Pictionaries. I, as a facilitator, always, of course, have a flip chart on hand, and you may not. So you can buy those sort of mini post-it note boards that fold out on a little tripod. There's also ones that have a sticky backing made by Post-it that you can post to a wall or to a window. And then you can have stand-up Pictionary. What was so great in our family was that it allowed all of us, when we got together on Christmas, where there were 8 of us in the room, everybody could see the drawing that was happening. Now, of course, my family is so frugal, they had to divide it in these micro little corners. We could have just used regular 8x11s. I digress. So you put up these big, beautiful Post-it notes or your own flip charts if you happen to have a flip chart stand or something that could double as it. And you could just create your own Pictionary words. Or if you happen to have the old Pictionary game, you could just use those cards, but you're doing it on this great big easel. And what's really fun about that is everybody gets really animated. My son, who has ADHD, he is a rock star when it comes to kinesthetic learning. And you can imagine how boring a tabletop game would be. But for this, he loved it. So 17-year-old right in there with the family, not taking off on Christmas, wanting to hang out with us. And if you have somebody who's high energy, probably they would enjoy it too. Now, the great news is, even if you're on lockdown, you can still do this with your family. Again, the benefit of having these great big Bristol board or great big poster size easels, even if they're those temporary ones, is that people can see it. So if I had one sitting right here, you'd be able to see it and we could play it together. So really fun for family and friends. And by the way, we never did anything like that before. We decided to push back our dinner hour and make lunch at about 3 in the afternoon and had snacks while we were playing Pictionary. And I'll tell you, that is probably what we're going to do from now on. Here's another thing that we did on Christmas Day that we will probably do going forward, and that is bingo. Now, not your normal G49, or whatever those, normal way you play bingo is. I can't say I've ever played bingo, but anyway, it is where we created a greatness bingo card. In fact, if you go to the Facebook group, Great Happy People, that is where you will find that downloadable resource. And you can even do this again virtually if you want. Just send it to everybody and they can print off their own one. And it's really a game of observing and looking for greatness. So when somebody gave somebody a compliment, when somebody gave somebody a hug or a virtual hug, when they acknowledge something that's working, there are some very specific things that you need to look for. And when you find them, you check that off. And the first person who fills them all out, you get a prize, or you get to be crowned the greatness observer of the group. In our family, we again gamified it. Why not make it fun? In fact, it was so much fun, this portion of it, that everybody forgot that we were all in the middle of unwrapping presents. I went down to what I call the present stash. So this is the big Tupperware container full of all the things that we used to pull stuff out last minute when we'd forget that it was some kid's birthday party that our kids had to go to the next day. But my kids are now 15 and 17. That there's only those things are collecting dust. And it's really random stuff like lace gloves and hair chalk and skeleton rings and strange things. So I got a bunch of gift bags and put these random weird things in it. And so if you were called bingo, you got a chance in anything in the line or around the edge, you got one of these bags. And of course it was super weird random things. And so if you found one and you thought, this isn't for me, you got a chance to say, actually, I think Mark, my husband Mark, who is spinning on top, shall we say, if he was given the hair chalk, I think, Mark, you should receive the hair chalk, says my brother-in-law, because you are just, you would look great with streaks of blue and purple in your hair. And he accepts it. Thank you very much, Jason. Now, Mom, my mother, I think you would look great with hair chalk because you are an artist. So we could keep passing it on and having fun with it, or you could keep it. It was lots and lots of good laughs there. Oh, this next one I want to share with you. This is actually my business mentor, Kim Shepard. This is what she does with her girlfriend and their 2 kids. They have something called Globe Mondays. So they have a great big globe and they turn it, and then they put, whoever's turn it is, puts their finger just somewhere randomly on the globe. As it's spinning, put your hand on the globe. You look at that, and whatever country that is the food that you're going to make on Friday. And so let's say you pick Ethiopia. Somebody's job is to research Ethiopian food, and another person's job is to put the order in to go pick up the food, and somebody else's job is to prep the food. So everyone has a role to play, and it can be based on strengths. Let's say you're not good at planning, but you're really great at, and you really like the chopping. You could all have your own role. You can mix it up and have fun and learn how to cook different things. But the point is, they get a chance to research and experience and have fun. They gather around when it's Monday, whenever they pick the country, they gather around and they look at and they research what are the food, the cultures, the traditions, the colors, the environments of that particular part of the world. And she said they've never had more conversations about not just food, but also other global issues around the world. And given that we are in the midst of a global pandemic, we should be thinking about global issues. Now is the perfect time to be thinking about these things. So those are 5 cool rituals that you can do virtually, you could do face-to-face in your very, very small bubble with the people that you live with. And I'm curious, what strategies, what tools, what rituals have you practiced? Will you share them? Please comment below. And also, I will make sure to put a link to all of those games and resources and tools that I have used and my family has used. I will put that in the comments below. I hope you stay safe. Thank you for following all of the guidelines so that we reduce the spread and that we stop and hopefully manage to fend off another wave of COVID. Take care and be well.